Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We just had an amazing holiday. Look at this view at Aviva Gottlieb's rooftop in Mishkafayim and Ramat B'Shemesh. It was really, really stunning. And Zat Hashem, we will do more stuff. We do a lot of events here. She's very, very gracious. So I want to thank you so much for having it. And so happy for everyone to join us here and joining us on Zoom. And Chodesh Tov to everyone. Chodesh Mevorach. I was zocheh to go to Kever Rachel yesterday. It was like amazing. Like it would empty and then fill up, empty and then fill up. It's like Rosh Chodesh, how everybody just like wants to be there. And today, I found out yesterday while I was there, Baruch Hashem, is Yosef Atzadik's Yartzeit, Hilula, is actually today. And I was okay to go to Rachel Imi yesterday. It was like amazing. So we are, a very special, auspicious time. We're going to talk about this month, the power of this month, the power of Tammuz, the koach that we have. Every single month is infused with tremendous kochot. And we have to tap into, we have to really infuse ourselves with these kochot just by even learning about it, hearing about it, and then practicing, putting it into action. So Be'ezrat Hashem, I hope that Hashem Sefatai Tiftach, I should be able to say the right words, Fi Yagiti Latecha, to be able to inspire you guys over here, and it should be a zchut for a refuah shlema for all the cholim. You want to mention any names? Mayam bat Devor Hadassah, Altir Shima ben Miriam, Yosef Azem Bechai Michal, Lazar ben Reuma, Rivka bat Chasiba, Avram, Ishaya Chananya, ben Devor Arut, refuah shlema. Bracha. Chai Bracha bat Devor Arut, B'ezrat Hashem, refuah shlema. Anyone else? Toch Shar Cholei Amo Yisrael, we should have Yeshuot, B'sorot Tovot, should be a zchut for your children, for Zivugim Agunim, Baruch Hashem Zoche. My daughter got engaged. Baruch Hashem, she's getting married. B'ezrat Hashem and Elul. It's like, thank you Hashem. It's funny because yesterday I was in Kever Rachel and everybody comes to Kever Rachel to cry. You know what I mean? Like Mama Rachel, cry for us, like we're all beseeching. And as I was leaving, I said goodbye to the lady who's helps organize the Siddur. She keeps the order there, and he really likes you here. So I said goodbye to her, and I said you should have a Chodesh Tov, B'sorot Tovot, and she said you should always come here to thank Hashem for smachot. And then I was like, yeah, you're right. I really did say thank you, of course, in my tefillah, but I was like, you know what? Let me take the opportunity again. And I said, thank you, Hashem, for the zchut to be able to be here now at Chodesh, to be by Mama Rachel. And I thank Hashem for the simcha that we have. Baruch Hashem, we should have smachot. Everybody should have smachot. But we always come, we're beseeching and asking, Mama Rachel, please daven for us. We have to remember that we have to be in gratitude, how much Hashem gives us, even if it's not a simcha. Even our life, even the ability to breathe, to get up in the morning, to have parnasa, to have sustenance, to have all the goodness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us on a daily basis. Of course, we have nisyonot, we have challenges, we have difficulties, but we have so much good, and we have to appreciate the good. Baruch Hashem, I have a Thank You Hashem group that a lot of women are inspired. Over 200 women are on there, and every day they're in gratitude to Hashem, and people just keep wanting to come on because it's like what's it called? Addictive, like you have to you want to be part of it, and Baruch Hashem, I think that it brings everyone a sipuk, like to read other people's thank yous, just being in gratitude about daily things, silly things, like thank you Hashem, I found my keys, to grandiose things that are challenging in our lives, and that maybe somebody's going through a challenge of health and they're still being grateful. I have an amazing mom who is a caretaker to her adult daughter who unfortunately is bedridden, and every day she's posting beautiful nature pictures and just being appreciative of what Hashem has given her and her daughter. Thank you, Susan, for being an inspiration to us and the group and being a good friend. And your daughter B'ezrat Hashem should have a refuah shlema. I don't know, I can't stick in my head her full name, but it's Alana. I just want to say refuah shlema. Sorry, and then we'll start. She's in the States, so she's not up at this hour. Refuah shlema for Aviva, Alana bat Sarah Rezel, B'ezrat Hashem, refuat hanefesh, refuat haguf, toch shar cholei amo Yisrael, and should be a zchut for everybody. So let's get started. It happens to be, we're in the summer months. It's really getting hot, right? Baruch Hashem, we're cool now. We're in the 80s. But Tammuz is known to be one of the hottest months. Tammuz and Av, right? Going to July and August, the hottest months of the year. And it's not for no reason that it's the hottest month. Actually, the Tammuz is related to Esav. It says that Tammuz and Tevet belong to Esav. There's a koach, that there's like an energy, a heated energy, so to speak, during this time. And we know anything on the physical realm is reflected in the spiritual realm, right? Anything we have in this world relates to something in the spiritual world. It mirrors it, so to speak. So spiritually, also, it's the hottest time of the year. What does that mean, that it's the hottest time of the year? Probably one of the meanings is that it's the time for us to be able to infuse ourselves with something, to be able to empower ourselves, in a sense. We're leading up to the month of Elul, going into the month of, Tishrei, right, to the Yamim Noraim. And these are the days of course, Tshuva. We know that this month, Tammuz, is associated with Yud Zayin Bet Tammuz, which is the 17th of Tammuz. It's a fast day. And we know that was the beginning of the Churban, the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. It actually started, the Poranut started in Tevet, right, when they laid a siege. And Yud Zayin Bet Tammuz is also considered the time of Poranut, the time of challenge, of difficulty. And it's the harshest month. It's a month of chaos. I'm not trying to tell you the negativity. We're going to see how it relates to us, because again, anything on a spiritual realm relates to the physical. So like we said, it's the hottest time. This time is the harshest time, this time of stress, the time of destruction, dysfunction, chaos. But with that, all that saying that, there's a tremendous cost during this time to be able to elevate it and to be able to rise up and be able to have the Geulah, right? What are we doing? Why are we fasting? Why are we commemorating, the Churban? Because there's tremendous potential for binyan, for building, Bezrat Hashem. So if we use this month appropriately, we have to be able to be careful. Of course, it's also a dangerous time. We know Shiva Asar, the Tammuz starts a 3-week period up until Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which is a 3-week period. We have to be careful. We have to be cautious. We have to be conscious, because also we have to realize there's ramifications to our actions. It's not just about doing, but doing it b'sechel, having your machshava, being able to think about what we're doing. And so we have to utilize this potential of this month. The heat of this month is like the passion, right? The passion for mitzvot, the passion to do good. Of course, that heat could also be related to negative passions, which is a passion of jealousy. We're going to talk about that. Jealousy is kin'ah, when a person desires things that are not in his reach or do not belong to him. This is the parsha we just read, Korach, right? It says the jealousy and the desire and the kavod take a person away from this world. And we see with Korach, it says that Korach was buried in the ground. Like there's no place for Korach. And he was a tremendous Talmid Chacham, by the way. Korach had everything, not just wealth. He had nevuah, right? He was on the level of having nevuah, because he was a big person, but he misused or did not utilize properly the kochot that Hashem gave him, and desired something that didn't belong to him. And of course, we know he put down Moshe Rabbeinu and did not accept the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that has no place. I was just reading yesterday. I was learning with a student in time of Shmuel Hanavi, when a simple thing like Shaul HaMelech didn't wait for Shmuel to come before he gave the sacrifices that the people brought him in the time of the Plishtim came, and he brought them up himself. He didn't wait when Shmuel told him that I'm going to come, I'm going to be there, and he didn't wait the whole day. He saw he didn't arrive in the morning, so he brought the korbanos. So when Shmuel arrived, he rebuked him, and he said, "What's shot? Why you not? Why didn't you wait? I told you to wait." And there he tells him, it shows that maybe your melucha is not destined to be mitkayem. That Shmuel told Shaul that his melucha is not going to continue to exist. What? Just because he didn't listen, he didn't wait, and he brought korbanos. He wasn't doing the wrong thing. He felt that there was an etratzon to bring korbanot. But if a king does not listen to the word of Hashem, a Navi says Dvar Hashem, he says the word of Hashem, he's prophesizing. If a king is not being careful in listening to the word of Hashem, how can he be a king? Because that's what a king does. A king is representative of melucha of Hashem, and not his own melucha. He has to listen. Hashem is medagdek b'tzadikim mechut ha'sa'ara. We know there's another reason later on. Shaul didn't want to kill Amalek, right? He had Rahmanis on the animals. He didn't listen. That was his job, is to be able to get rid of Amalek, and he didn't. And that was the one thing that a king had to do. And so we know that David HaMelech was supposed to rule. That was also the destined, what was destined to be. But Shaul did not deserve to have the Melucha. See how important it is to follow the ways of Hashem and to not be caught up with your own ideas, with your own desires, right? And that could lead, obviously, to negative things like jealousy. And it's interesting to note that the month of Tammuz is related to the Kin'ah. The month of Av, Kin'ah, Te'ava is desire, and then Kavod is the month of Tishrei. Those are the 3 months now that we have to work on these things to be able to rectify, to fix those midot, in order for us to merit, to be able to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so this month, the reverse of this passion, negative passion and desire, is a potential for powerful transformation, for positive heat, for illuminating light. And we're going to talk about what that is. And we know that physical heat, it says, fosters emotional heat, which intensifies physical gratification. But so that's where the desire comes. But we can elevate this base desire to a higher realm, to be able to strive to higher spiritual realms, to be able to come closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu with our desires, desire for good, desire to see the good, desire to act in a positive way with our machshava, with our emotions, and with our actions. And that's what we have to be working on. Now, Tammuz, interestingly enough, we know that all the months are given a name in the Torah. And in the Torah, it's called the Chodesh HaRavi'i, because we're counting from Nisan. This is the 4th month. Okay, and it's coming after the 3 months, which actually the month starting from Nisan was the month when we were born. We were born as a nation, and those 3 months of Nisan, Sivan, and Iyar are the months that also had tremendous kohot. Want to read something, I can't find it, but hopefully we'll come back to it. But basically, those 3 months were the times where we were rectifying a certain stage, and we were sort of in a lower stage of just like developing ourselves. The last month was Teomim, was already when we were in a state of growing up. Nisan was an infancy, and then we get older and older, and we make our own choices. And those were the times where we were rectifying. Oh, here it is. Those are the time of the spring. These are the months when their light was flowing easily into the world, and it was directly flowing into the world. There's an Or Yashar. There's a direct light that was flowing into the world. During the time of Nisan, there's every month, the name of Hashem is there's permutations in the way it is written and the way it's expressed in the month. In Nisan, it's directly the way it's written, Yud K, Vav K. In this month, it's exactly the opposite. There's chaos. There's disorder. So it's I think this month was Hey Vav Hey Yud, which is the opposite. That's the chaos. That's the reverse, right? The way of things that are not flowing, that are not so straightforward. And so that's what we have to rectify. But interestingly enough, we don't call it the Chodesh HaRavi'i. It's not called, it's called Tammuz. Tammuz is the names that were given to the months were in Bavel, when Bnei Israel went into Galut. And we still commemorate it. We still remember that name. Let me tell you a little bit about Tammuz. It's interesting that this is the month, that is the name of the month that's used. And the Ramban actually says, why using months that are in Aramaic, that are not from the Torah? Right? He says, in order to commemorate, just like Bnei Israel when they came back to when they left Mitzrayim, right? It was time to remember that they left Mitzrayim, and we commemorate Nisan as the beginning of time because it reflects what happened to the Jewish people. So in Bavel, right, when the people left Bavel, so that also is a time, so to speak, to commemorate, to remember it. And so we keep some of those names, Babylonian names, till today. But they also have mashma'ut. They also have significance. Tammuz and Daniel, it refers to heat. Actually has that name, actually refers to heat. Tammuz, it refers to heat in Daniel, Sefer Daniel. And in Yechezkel, it's brought down that Tammuz was an avodah zarah. It was the name of an avodah zarah, a pagan deity that actually was killed by these jealous people during this time, the people who were serving him. It said that it came out of heat, because of the heat, the jealousy, the passion, right? It was named after this heat, and that's why it's the hottest month, which we mentioned. Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say. So what happened? This deity of Tammuz was an avodah zarah that was created as an image, and they placed lead in the eyes of this image. Okay, it looked like I guess like a form of a person. They placed lead in the eyes, and they placed fire near the image, and it would heat up the idol, and then the lead would drip, and it would look like the idol was crying. Okay, it looked like he was crying. So then the people near him would come by, and they would cry. They would cry. This was a place, so they stood next to it. Of the avodah zarah, they would weep with it. Okay, and then the more sunlight during this time of year, right, the more heat, the more it would cry. Now, it's not for naught. We're going to explain in a second how it relates to us. What's this crying? This crying is like a hope. During the summer months and the springtime, there's like a hope, you know? People like get married. It's like there's love, there's excitement, there's more light in the world. During the summer months, there's more light, but actually during this time, hi, how are you? The light is now starting to diminish. So like we're feeling that loss, kivyachol, like, oh, what's good? We're missing something. We're missing something because we're losing the light as we get closer and closer to the fall and the winter months. So this hope and excitement sort of dies down. And this avodah zarah that we're talking about, this deity, the people wept for the lost potential. They weep for what they couldn't have. And because we said the springtime is full of hope. And sorry. Okay. And basically, what are we doing during the Tammuz and Av are the months that we cry, because we know the Parsha. We just read Parsha Shlach, right? We just finished Parsha Shlach. What was Parsha Shlach? When the Meraglim, they wanted to send spies, the Jewish people wanted to send spies to see the land, to see how good it is. Hatovahi, is it good? Yeah, look at our land. Yeah, it's good. But they were suspicious, and they didn't want necessarily to see the good. We're going to talk about that, what that means. But basically, by the fact that they cried, they came back crying with a bad, evil report about the land. Hashem said, you cried. Bechi shel chinam. You cried a cry for no reason. I'm going to give you a reason to cry for generations. And we know Tisha B'Av was dedicated as the day where we commemorate the destruction of both Batei Mikdashot, right? The two Batei Mikdash. And we cry, and we sit on the floor, and we lament, and we cry. So this is the time. It starts, of course, in Shivas Tammuz, which we said was the beginning of the destruction. It says in Eicha, Eina Yordim Mayim. My eyes are weeping, are crying. Ma'ot are coming down. And this is the Bechi that we're talking about. So they cried, the Avodah Zarah were crying for not good reasons, necessarily, right? For the deity, they looked like he was crying, and they were crying for the loss of hope. So when we cry, our cry is a little different. Our cry is not a loss of hope that it's never going to be rebuilt. Oh, look what we did. Look what happened. We're never going to have a Beis HaMikdash. Oh, we sit on the floor and we're lamenting, and we're just like, you know, in mourning. It's actually halacha. My husband was asking, and let me just finish the thought. So we don't do that because we know we cry a cry of hope. A cry understanding that, yes, Be'ezrat Hashem, the Beit HaMikdash will be rebuilt. We're crying now for what we lost in hope that Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to have it. And that day is going to become a day of celebration. The day of Mashiach is going to be born. It's Tisha B'Av. It's not a day that's it, fallen, we're gone, we're done. We're no longer, going to have. No, it's a day of hope. When we cry, we don't cry with like, I can't, no more. And that's what teaching us. Actually, the Rabbi Nachman, and also the Lubavitcher Rebbe, which is going to be right now, Gimel Tammuz. It's a big day, right? The big fun for Brengen. It's not the day of is that his birthday? I don't remember. That his yahrzeit. Gimel Tammuz yahrzeit. His yahrzeit. So yeah, that's right. I remember going to the Ohel actually in the summertime when I was living in New York. So what do? We don't cry. We said every yerida, every time there's a yerida, tzorech aliyah. Means there's something that's going to be positive, something that's going to be rising up. And when we cry, we're crying in hope of something. Just like it says, Sheva yipol tzaddik v'kam. The tzaddik falls 7 times, but he gets up. That's his greatness, is that he gets up. Our yerida is for us to have hope, tikva, to hold on to that kav, tikva, the shorish is kav, to hold on to that kav. We are never far gone. We are never lost to Hashem. Banim atem laHashem Elokechem. We're going to be reading in the Parshios now in Sefer Devarim. We're children to Hashem. Hashem loves us. He cares for us. We're never going to be so lost that we fall down. Like the song goes, you fall down, you get back up. You fall down, you get back up, right? So Sheva Yipol Tzaddik. 7 times the Tzaddik falls. His greatness is that he gets up. Who come? Okay, so we have these months now that we're leading up to that we said are very difficult months. The months of the passion, of the chas v'shalom, jealousy in a bad way, right? Or of kavod. We have to practice good things to be able to see things in a positive light. And so the Bnei Yissaschar tells us, and the Sefer Yetzirah also mentions that the body part, every month is associated with the body part that relates to this month. Guess what it is? Einayim, your eyes. In Av, it's the peh, it's your mouth. And it relates to what we spoke about the Meraglim, that they went and they wanted to see bad, and then they spoke badly in the month of Av. And if you look at Eicha, the Prakim, I think it's, and the peh and the ayin are interchanged because they put the peh before their ayin, before their eyes. They already spoke in a negative way. They already wanted, they had a pretext. They were thinking already in a negative way. And so they spoke in a negative way and saw things in a negative light once they went. They thought they were like ants, right? Who are we? We're never going to be able to get this land. We're never going to be able to conquer the land. We're, who are we? Because they looked at themselves in a negative light. So what's important? Your ayin sees. When an eye sees, says ayin ro'ah, and then your lev is chomed, your lev is desiring, right? And then you do something about it. Chas v'shalom, person does a sin. That's why we say, lo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei einechem. Don't go after don't go astray after your heart and your eyes. It's connected. What does a person do? When we think a certain way, right? We see things in a certain light. This is what we're told, that really our eyes, our mindset, the ability to see things, it has to be controlled. We have to be able to view things in a positive way. Ayin tova, ki tevorach. Pirkei Avot tells us, somebody who has an ayin tov, a good eye. What does that mean, a good eye? So actually a person's created with 2 eyes. It says the right eye is always chesed. Right is always synonymous of chesed, of good. Sees the kindness. You should be able to see with your right eye the kindness, the goodness of others. And your left eye, synonymous with gvura. Gvura is the criticism. What's the criticism? At yourself. You should be able to look at yourself with a critical eye to be able to improve yourself, to be able to, take the good and make things better, right? Or to see the bad and get rid of it, to do tshuva. But with your right eye, you have to look at other people. With your right eye, you look at others in a positive light. No matter what somebody does to you, you have to see them in the positive light. And how we think about ourselves, unfortunately, we reflect it upon others, just like the Meraglim. We have to have our thoughts. We have to be able to shift in how we see the world. And even things in absolute terms, we have to be able to see them in a positive light. And we have to be able to control it. And how do we control it? By always subjectively seeing it. To be able to subjectively see things. To see things in the light that we believe in ourselves. And if we believe in ourselves, really a person, I forgot the pasuk, but a person, maybe it's coming to me, I know the whole pasuk, but something about a person sees the brokenness of his heart, right? If you're reflecting upon the negativity, the things that you haven't done right, and you think about yourself in a negative light, that's what you're going to project. That's what you're going to show to others. The Meraglim thought in a negative light. They didn't think that they were able to conquer it. And that's what they spoke about. And that's how they reflected themselves, right? Had they had self-esteem and felt great about themselves, right? They would have said, oh, yeah, we can conquer this. We could do this. Hashem did everything for us. We can do this too. Hashem can do anything. But instead, they already went with this negative connotation in themselves. And so the lens that we see the world in is how we see ourselves. This enables us to be able to shift, to be able to see things and to see the world in a positive way. Now, actually, in the Parshios, we see this with Bilam. What happened with Parshas Balak, right? In Parshas Balak, we know that Bilam cast a negative eye, an ayin ra'ah, upon the Jewish people, and he said, when am I going to be able to do that? How is he going to get the Jewish people, who are Hashem's special nation, right, to be able to curse them? He said they can't curse people that think that they're great and they have this closeness to Hashem, and they believe in themselves, right, and they don't see the bad in themselves. How am I going to curse them? Because I have to get them to believe or to think in a way that they're not worthy, in a way that reflects themselves in a negative light. So then the Ayin Hara will be sholetet on them, right? And what did he do? He caused them to sin, right? He caused them to sin. And when Bnei Israel sinned, so therefore they didn't feel good about themselves. We're Bnei Melech, Bnei Melachim. How can we come to sin, right? They felt badly about themselves. And at that point, when he introduced the sin, and people felt unworthy or undeserving of Hashem's greatness, that was a petach, an opening for the ayin hara, for the negative eye, for the time to curse them, right? Of course, Hashem reversed his curse, right, because of the greatness of Bnei Israel. But that perception of the ayin hara, we can change it by seeing it with the ayin tova, and then we don't allow the ayin hara to reflect upon ourselves, and then we don't reflect it upon others. It's very, very important, because we're told that anything that we see, this is brought down in Chassidut, the Baal Shem Tov. Anything we see is a reflection of ourselves. That if we see something in a negative light in others, that means there's something negative within ourselves that we need to fix. That's usually the case. And when we look at things, it means there's something that's bothering us about ourselves, and we see it in other people. By the way, it's very, very, very important, and the Chafetz Chaim speaks about this, that we shouldn't see things in a negative light. We shouldn't see people in a negative light because we're judging them. I think also that Rabbi Nachman talks about this, right? You should always see the good of people, right? See the positive. Why? Because when you are in judgment of others, you're going to be judged, and you're causing that person that you're looking at negatively to be judged. Chafetz Chaim talks about this. That's why it's so important, Shmiras HaLashon. Because when we are saying or thinking bad about somebody else, we're causing deen. We're causing judgment to come down. That's not a good thing. But imagine you go around, you say, you're so amazing. You're wonderful. You're great. You accomplished so much. And you're giving people all these positive vibes, energies. What is Hashem looking down and doing? Throwing down more brachos, more shefa, right? The opposite of judgment. Chesed. You're giving chesed, Hashem's going to give you chesed. When you're ma'avir al mitotav, when you forgive somebody said something to you, you don't talk. I just heard an amazing story. I heard it again. Actually, my kids were young. I don't know if you heard Official Schafter. So he tells stories. He's a big storyteller, like a magid. But especially with kids, he had kids tapes. And he told over the story. And actually, Rebbetzin Landau just gave a shir, and she told over the story. And I'm like, where is it? I want to read it. I didn't get to read it, but hopefully I'll tell it over a little bit. But the story goes that there was a couple that tried to have children. And they could not have children for many, many years. And they went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky. And he said, en ma lasot, there's nothing to do. It's gzera from Shamayim. And he gave them a bracha. But it wasn't like a bracha like you should have children. It was like Hashem should bench you, whatever it was, that he told them. And they said, no, there has to be something. What can we do? There has to be something. Please tell us what we can do. He said, there's a big, big ma'ala that a person who says something to you and it embarrasses you, right? And the Torah are told that if you embarrass someone, it's like you kill them. If you don't answer them back, a person closes his mouth, you're zoche to tremendous brachas and yeshuos. Hashem will bless you. It's like, like tremendous, tremendous bracha. If somebody embarrasses somebody, right? It's as if they're killing them. It's as if that's it, the person died, chas v'shalom. If you don't answer back, it says the person who doesn't answer back, he's sustaining the world. Okay, it says Hashem bolemet haaretz al meyasedet haaretz al blima, not nothingness, like not answering back, not saying anything. We know also with the Yerech, the sun and the moon, right? That because she put her down, she was diminished, right? So we have to be careful how we speak and how we judge people. So there's a story, I don't know exactly the details. You'll excuse me, but basically somebody was going to buy a house and they went to this house. They really liked it. And then this neighbor came and she says, no, this house is cursed. You don't want to buy this house. It's cursed. Don't come here. She didn't want people to buy this house, and she told them it was cursed, and they're like, okay, fine, whatever. They really liked the apartment, the house, and they really wanted to get it. And she said, and she just kept bad mouthing them and cursing and saying bad things about it. So I think what happened was they ended up going to this chasana. They ended up going to a wedding, and this woman was there, and she saw them. She saw this couple, and she went over to the woman, excuse me, and she started cursing her and yelling at her and publicly embarrassing her. Her friend that was with her remembered, or Chaim Kanievsky told her, this is the same woman who couldn't have a child. She said, please don't answer her back. Please don't answer her back. Actually, wasn't the woman. It was a woman that was saying to her, don't answer her back, was the one who couldn't have children. Why? Because she wanted a bracha from somebody who gets embarrassed. You get a bracha from somebody who's embarrassed. And you're so don't answer her back. Please, please, please don't answer her back. She didn't answer her back. She stood there and she just took the shame, the embarrassment of being put down publicly. This woman was just a crazy lady and just saying crazy things. And she said, please give me a bracha. I should have a child. This is the woman who couldn't have children. And she gave her a bracha. 9 months later, she was so to have a beautiful baby boy after maybe 20 or 30 years of not having children. So we see this koach, being able to see the good, right? To not speak badly, to not judge, to not automatically come to conclusion that she's crazy and she's talking, answering her back. Yesterday I heard, actually it was this morning, it came to my mind now because I was saying the story. There was it just happened. It's all over the news here, which is a good thing because people should know and see what goes on in this country. There's a from man, a dati, Haredi person with peot, and he was on a bus. You saw this? He was on a bus, and it was in one of these cities, not here, not around where there are a lot of Fur people. And this Chiloni woman gets on the bus and says to him, "What look at you, you guys think that you own the world. What are you dressing like that? He's like, you don't even serve in the army here. You don't do anything for this country." And she's like bad mouthing him just for the way he looks. He didn't do anything to her. He didn't say anything to her. And he looks at her and he's like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "How dare you talk to me this way?" I actually thought it like hurt me to hear this, And he recorded it purposely. And then he put it on his groups and he spoke about it. And it became it's like all over the media now. I'm sure you're going to hear about it. You hear her saying to him not nice things. And he says, "What makes you think that you have a right to tell me that I didn't serve in this country?" He said, "Did you serve in the army?" And she said, "Yeah, why?" She's like, "I probably served more in the army than you did." This man is a Haredi man. And he served in a Haredi unit in the army for many years. He now does miluim. He's on reserve duty. And he's like the rabbi of the reserves. Like when he goes, he's like been serving for a number of years. And he's like, you didn't serve more than I did. Basically, he was telling her like, what do you have the right to tell me how to dress? Because he didn't do anything wrong. He's just the way he is. She goes, "Yeah, why you dress like that? You're like the Amish, like a cult." She says to him, Jewish woman, Israeli woman. He says, "What are you talking to me about? I'm a cult." He's like, "I have the right to dress as I am. I believe in Hashem. I'm an Oved Hashem. I serve a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and this is what I choose. Because I could wear 3 shtreimels, I could wear 7 shtreimels. This is how I choose. I serve Hashem with what I wear, with who I am, and I'm proud of it." But the point of this was so sad. 2 Jewish people, one does not identify at all with anything that has to do with Judaism, and even belittles it and puts it down. Right? Now he could have badmouthed her. I was watching this, and this is what you realize. He didn't. He was just telling her, I do my duties, and just because the media tells you otherwise, because there are religious Jews that serve in the army and that do help this country. But he didn't badmouth her. Not only that, he gets up, he leaves the bus, and he says to her, "Have a good day. Shi'eh lech yom tov." I was like, what are you telling her? Shi'eh lech yom tov? She's just like, dissed you, like the kids say, she disrespected you. And you're telling her, "Have a good day." Kiddush Hashem. That's what we're here to do. We're here to make a Kiddush Hashem. The point is not me telling you off. I'm going to, outdo your, how you talk to me. I'm going to say it even better, outsmart you and belittle you the way you did to me and degrade you. No. He made a Kiddush Hashem, and now he's on the media talking about how important it is not to judge each other just because of the way we dress and to respect one another. Make it Kiddush Hashem. This is what we're talking about. You could take a passion, you could take, what you're feeling, the heat, right? In the heat of something. And when we talk about the heat of an action, usually it's the heat of jealousy, of desire, right? The heat is a negative connotation. You could take that and he could have said, this is my kavod, it's my honor, like, how dare you? And spill it back to her in a negative way. But instead, he stood up with gvura. Reminds me a little bit like Pinchas, right? We're in the Parsha of Pinchas. He stood up for what he believed. He served Hashem. He didn't care what everyone's going to say and how he reacted to the znut, to the immorality, to the negativity. And he made a Kiddush Hashem. This Pinchas Eliyahu was married. He married her to come back in Eliyahu Navi. So we see the greatness, the tikkun. We're talking about, go back to what we said, the heat of the month, the crying of the month, the tikkun of this month is to take that passion and to reflect it to Hashem, right? And to be able to utilize this month of crying, not crying like, oh, Hashem, we're never going to have the Beit HaMikdash. When is it going to happen? Mashiach is never going to come. You hear people talking like this. He's never going to come. How do you believe Mashiach is going to come? Look at all the suffering that's happening, right? Look at all the immorality. Look at all the negativity. Look at the Chilul Hashem. How is he going to come? You know how he's going to come? It says one person. One person is like an entire world. When you're Mekadesh Shemayim, when you're careful in how you speak about others, when you're careful in how you judge others, when you look at things in a positive light, and you see people in a positive light, when you spread ahavat chinam, ahava, love for each other, and not negativity, and not say, oh, how could she speak like that? He said to her, I think he even said to her, we come from the same blood, like, what are you fighting with me? We're part of the same nation. If you can do that, that's gevurah. That's being able to conquer the passion and the negativity and to bring geulah. That's geulah because you're goel yourself. You're redeeming yourself from that negative state of mind. You're seeing things in a positive state. You're having an ayin tova. So I was talking about before. It says, Mishanichnas av, mema'atim besimcha, right? And we said, Mishanichnas, what? What's the Mishanichnas, the other one? Adar, marbim besimcha. In av, we're mema'et besimcha, and then we're told in halacha how to decrease our simcha, right? You have to be careful, not to listen to music, don't go shopping. Okay, everything's on sale, we're allowed to shop, but really not. Okay, not to go to simchas, right? Not to have music, live music, all this stuff. Like we're given rules and regulations of how to be mema'et simcha. Okay, what about adar? It says marbeh simcha. What does it tell us there? How to be marbeh simcha? How do we do it? Does it say halachas, guidelines, how to be marbeh simcha? Does it say blast the music on Aviva's roof and just start dancing? Like let's go. It doesn't say. We know it's Purim. We celebrate. We have the minhagim of Purim. We have the things that we do on the halachos of Purim. But it says about Adar. It doesn't say Purim. Why is that? Why do we have guidelines for decreasing our simcha, and we have no guidelines in how to increase our simcha? Natural. Okay. So I said something similar. I finally got to the answer. I was like trying, telling my husband, well, I think it's this. My husband's bringing it up on the Shabbos table. I said, because if duet Hashem besimcha, our job is always to serve Hashem besimcha. That's the natural state. Like you're saying, you always serve Hashem besimcha. So we're increasing simcha. It's more than that. It's really the opposite. We'll go to the opposite end, the negativity. What happens? You tell somebody, decrease your simcha. Okay, I'm going to sit on the floor the whole month. I'm going to mourn. I'm going to cry. I'm not going to wear anything nice. I'm going to wear black. I'm going to just mourn. Just be like, Hashem, you're not bringing me to the Beit HaMikdash. I'm not getting up, Lo aleinu. Thank you so much. Be in touch, yeah? Hashem, Chodesh tov. When Lo aleinu, I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother we lost my uncle. Actually, it's his yard site. Look at that. Look, it just came into my mind. In Dalit Tammuz, Bezrat Hashem, going to be his yard site. He died very young, 27 years old. It should be Leilu Nishmato, Rafael, Ben, Rivka, Ten Nishmato Began Eden, Tzura B'Tzorach Chaim. And 27 years old, a mother to lose a child, lo aleinu, we should have known from this. And that's the first time I saw mourning because I was a kid, I was a teenager, and I'm like, I didn't know what that meant. And I remember coming into the room, it was here in Israel, everybody's sitting on the floor and they're crying. And I don't know if you know Moroccans, when they mourn, it's not just crying, it's screaming. It's like, we can't, we're screaming, we're yelling. We're like, it's not like a calm Spartan when they do things with a lot of excitement, like the simcha, but same thing with the mourning, like a lot of heat, a lot of passion. And it was very hard for me to see that, right? It was very, very hard for me to see that. So when we're mourning, it's like there's no end to how much we want to mourn when chas v'chala we have a loss. You don't want to get up from shiva, right? It's like, you want me to just go into my life and just start working and just living life normally? Like that's the hardest thing for somebody who's a mourner, is to get up from his mourning and start living regular life when, well, my mother, my brother, my sister, a relative is no longer here. They're no longer here. There's a loss, right? And that's where we're supposed to sit and supposed to mourn. And there's a month. The Torah gives you guidelines. We're not supposed to mourn to the point that we lose our own life. And that's what we tell my grandmother. Because even after the month, and even after the year, she still till this day, always whenever there's a simcha, talks about him, mentions him. It's in her heart. She has a broken heart. You can't replace that. With law lane, we shouldn't open this. This is Hashem. This is Hashem with us. Hashem's heart is broken. And he wants us to come back. It's like Hashem's sitting with this. This is what it says. But what's my point? Getting back to the point. We decrease the simcha. That means we still have to be besimcha. We just have to decrease it. And we're told why. These are the guidelines, because we can't take it to another extreme. Because when we mourn, when we're sad, we want to just mourn. We want to just continue mourning. We don't have, I don't have my home. I don't have my bayit. There's no bet hamikdash. We don't have a korbanot. And if we're going back generations, we don't feel as much today. Baruch Hashem, we have the kotel, we have, we go, we daven. But they felt the loss. There's no bet hamikdash. There's no korbanot. People didn't have food to eat. There was a famine, right? Like you felt the chorban, you felt it, the heaviness. Nobody wanted to get up and just move on with their life. And so we're told there is a measurement. There's only a certain amount that you mourn. There's a shiva, there's 30 days, there's a year, and then life moves on. Even for certain relatives, right? You don't have to mourn a year. Because Hashem says, we don't sit and wallow in the misery and the negativity. Our tikkun during this month is to rise above, to elevate that passion, that heat, to look at things with an ayin tova, so that Be'ezrat Hashem, we know, and this is the pasuk that we're told, ayin be'ayin b'shuv Hashem Tzion, ayin be'ayin. When we have the positivity, we will see eye to eye with who? With Hashem. That whatever we're going through, whatever suffering, whatever challenge, whatever difficulty, we'll be able to see it as from Hashem, and we'll know that it's going to come. The Geulah is going to come. The Yeshua is going to come. Yeshuat Hashem, Keherach Ayin. I just thought about that now. Like the blink of an eye, right? It's a matter of just blinking your eye, and it's going to happen. It doesn't look like that, but that's what it means. And that's what we're told. This is talking about the time of the Geulah. And we'll be able to see eye to eye with each other. We'll be able to see eye to eye with Hashem. We'll be able to understand what all the suffering went through. And we'll be able to be seen by Hashem fully, meaning in the right light, and who we truly, truly are, and who we truly desire to be in our machshava, in our heart, and our action. And at the time of the Beit HaMikdash, we'll be able to be seen fully by Hashem in Olam Hazeh. It's interesting because one of the things that people complain about, a married couple, wife tells her husband, you don't see what I'm doing? You don't see? I'm doing so much. Don't you care about it? Right? And the same thing with the children and our mother, right? Ma, don't you see? Don't you see? Or their mother to the child. Look how I'm doing for you. Look how the laundry I did for you, and I cleaned up your room, and look how much you're doing. Don't you see? Everybody wants to be seen, right? We also want Hashem to see us. We want to be seen. And we want to be seen. So what do we have to do? We have to see others in a positive way. We have to see first ourselves Whatever we think of ourselves, we said we reflect to others. See ourselves in a positive light. I made a mistake. I didn't mention this. The letter associated with this month is the letter Chet. Chet, what does Chet mean? Chet means a sin. Chet means missing the mark. Chet means failure. The letter Chet, and it's interesting how the letter Chet is written. It has two walls, right? And a ceiling, but no floor. That's the Yerida, the ability to go down during this month, we said, right? The ability to falling, right? The spiritual falling, so to speak. But guess what? The letter Chet is made up of two letters, if you look at it, the Vav and the Zayin. Put a Vav and a Zayin together, looks like a Chet. The Vav and the Zayin actually relates to the 2 months preceding, which is Sivan and Iyar. That's the connection of the months. We said that we have to take from the energy of the positive month, come into this month, which is a month of darkness. It's a month. Chet is also synonymous of Choshech. And another thing, beautiful thing, I didn't mention, we have to end, getting late, but it says in the Torah, the first place that it mentions the word sight, seeing, it's Vayar Elokim et ha'or ki tov, that Hashem saw the or and it was good. That Hashem seeing, when he saw the light, it was good, it was tov. That's what teaches us that we need to see the good, the tov. And the first time we have the letter Chet in the Torah is the word Choshech. It says Bereshit bara Elokim tashamayim et haaretz, v'haaretz hayta tohu v'vohu b'choshech, right? That's with Choshech. There was darkness. And what is Choshech? Choshech is the opposite of light. Like Choshech is the what's it called? The not the opposite, the absence. The absence of light is darkness. You can't define darkness. You only can define it because you have light. When you don't have light, you see Choshech, right? You don't see Choshech. It's the absence of the light. So it's beautiful because it connects to what we're saying, that the vision, the light, right? The opposite, the shadow side, the Choshech, the absence of light. What do we need to do? We need to work on seeing the light in this month, not to reflect upon the Chet, the Choshech, to reflect upon the Or, the positive, Vayar Elokim ki tov, Hashem saw it was good. That's what we have to do. The spies, they saw things as negative, right? That's their interpretation. That was their re'iyah. The re'iyah was from their interpretation of what their machshava, their brain told them. It says that the brain projects the image of what we see, right? We need to be able to use our head to be able to see. Can't see without your head. Person's brain doesn't work. They're not really able to see. They're not seeing. So our vision is an active projection of this light, right? And we are created in the image of Hashem. We are a beacon of light in this world. We're created b'tselem Elokim. B'tselem Elokim bara oto. And that's what we have to do for others. We have to do for ourselves. See ourselves that we're good, that we're worthy, that we have something to offer, right? That we're tov. And then see that in others. That every single person is a light. Every single person needs to shine their light and to add to this world. That's how we have Klal Yisrael. When we're ish echad b'lev echad, right? Kamayim panim el panim, ken levadam el adam. Just like we see each other's faces, or the faces reflected in the water, we see it, right? So is our hearts. And when we do that, what are we going to do? The opposite of Chorban. We're going to build. We're going to have the Geulah. We're going to have Yeshuot, Bezrat Hashem. And the month of Av will turn into, Tisha B'Av will turn into the day of redemption, of Geulah. We wash our floors and we get the house ready. We get to clean on Tisha B'Av, right? Because we know Mashiach's going to be born on Tisha B'Av. But that's what we do in the beginning of the month. Tammuz leading up to Av, to be able to see the good, to be able to put our machshava, our thoughts before we speak, right? To see something in a positive light, in a good light, and our tears, like we mentioned before, are going to become not tears of crying, but tears of longing and tears of hope and tears of Yeshuot and Besorot Tovot. And Tammuz will no longer be a month of suffering, but it'll be a month of that hope that leads to the month of the Geulah B'ezrat Hashem. We should be zoche the binyan Beit HaMikdash. B'mchira b'yameinu B'ezrat Hashem. We should be zoche to see it with our eyes. We're here in Eretz HaKodesh. We're here. We're in Harei Yehuda. We're close to the Yerushalayim, and really have to daven for it. And it starts with ourselves. It starts with how we see others. And of course, it's in our actions and how we reflect that and what we do and what we say and what we do. Bezrat Hashem. So Bezrat Hashem, this month should be a tikkun. It should be to fix all these areas to be zochet to the Geulah B'Krov B'mira B'Amen Amen. Chodesh Tov Mevorach Bezrat Hashem. Oh, we're saying even Tov. Chodesh Tov. Chodesh Tov. Look at that. Even that is Tov. Oh, it was very cute. Let me tell you a little cute mashal. We're talking about seeing and desiring. So that it reminded me of myself with my kids. You know FAO Schwartz? Yeah. So FAO Schwartz is like a toy store, huge toy store, right? And so there's a mom that told her kids that FAO Schwartz is a toy museum. So when they would go there, they wouldn't desire the toys because it's a museum. It doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the museum. I can't have it. As opposed to the store, like I want this. My kids would say, I want this, I want that. I think I also sort of told my kids, I'm like, oh, this is not the kind of store you buy things. This is like it's like a museum. I think I remember saying that to my children. Exactly. So that, and the same thing is with us, that when we know that something doesn't belong to me, we didn't speak about the jealousy, but that's the midah this week, this year, this month that we're trying to fix. When you realize it doesn't belong to you, Hashem didn't give that to me because that's not what I need to be able to fix myself. So I don't desire it. It's not in my realm. And that's how we're mitaken that and seeing it in the right way, right? It doesn't belong to me. And there's the song that we sing, Lechai Olamim, right? We say Kavod ve'adeh. The whole thing is Lechai Olamim. Who's Lechai Olamim? It's for Hashem. That everything that Hashem gives us in this world, every single good thing that we have in this world, we have to use it to serve Hashem. So if Hashem didn't give it to me, it's not my job to serve him with it, right? I don't have this gorgeous porch because Hashem didn't. I have it because Aviva's my good friend. I'm saying Hashem didn't give it to me. That's not my tafkid. This is her tafkid, and look what she's doing with it. She's doing good with it. It's not like, oh, look at my porch. It's like, here, come enjoy my porch. Come share my porch. And I remember also I had friends in New York. They redid their house, but they didn't redo the outside of their house. So why didn't you do the outside? It was like old looking house and inside so nice and beautiful. She's like, why do I have to take out people's eyes? She's like, why do I have to take out people's eyes? We say in Hebrew. What does that mean? The people should say, oh, wow, look at that house, right? She goes, the outside, let's say it's sanua, nice. Inside is people coming into my home. I'm hosting them. It should be beautiful. Because the mitzvah, and everything you have, you should be mishabechet. You should elevate it to higher levels because you're serving Hashem with it. And that's also another way of looking at things. So when you look at someone's house, don't say, oh, wow, look at that house, thinking like, I wish it was my house, right? Wow, look at that house, or look at that car, or look at that garden. Let's say, Baruch Hashem, Hashem gave them that house. Different way of looking at it. Hashem should give everybody Bezrat Hashem like this. But when you say, oh, look at that house, oh, look at that, look at that car, look at that person, look how she's dressed, right? Baruch Hashem, look at a beautiful Bat Yisrael, how she's dressed. Look at that beautiful house. Hashem give so many people b'shefa. She continue to give. Different way of looking at it. So Bezrat Hashem, we should use our eyes for good. Bezrat Hashem. Thank you. Thank you for joining, ladies. Thanks so much. Oh, I see we have some newcomers.
You're collecting 25%.
Thank you so much. Yeah, if anybody wants to donate to our cause, that would be great. 25 shekel if you're in Israel. Now you can give a donation to my organization, Lev Ha'am. You can feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much for joining. I will be giving another class this evening. It might be a little repetitive. And so I'll be posting that also on my group if you want to join. But it'll also be talking about the class of this month. Take care, ladies. Have a Chodesh Tov.